with Zion out, I mean, just in the play-ins alone, before he went out with 3 minutes to go in the game, he had 36 and a half minutes he played, and his usage was 38.6. So where's that going? Stay tuned. We'll let you know up here in our key players. Welcome to DFS Insights, where the game behind the game comes to life. I am David Geislinger, and alongside me is David Grant Jr., my cousin and co-strategist. The teams up on the block are the Sacramento Kings at the New Orleans Pelicans.
With your lineup success as our top priority, this is where David and I will deep dive into our top three players that we like for this matchup. We will break down the strategy behind our picks and share our insights to enhance your lineups. And make sure not to miss out on the finale where we will reveal two absolutely free lineups that you'll be able to enter into the tournament.
Nice, here we go. We made it. Yeah,
We're here,
so we had a little bit of questions going against Golden State, but we did come out. We blew them out, so that was nice. And then coming into the Pelicans, and everybody in the stadium, we were watching, the game. Cheering for the Lakers. It was weird to see that.
yeah.
Cheering for the Pelicans. It was weird to see that in the Golden One Arena or whatever. But is what it is. Pelicans ended up losing to the Lakers, so we got Kings coming in, going. Big news came out of that Lakers Pelicans game. We'll get into here in a bit, but that could change everything. So, all right, getting into it, we got Sacramento going into play the Pelicans for the sixth time this season. We played obviously the 4 regular season games. We did see them and lost to them in the in-season tournament, and now we have them in the play-ins, which is probably the first time in I don't even know. If you know, go ahead and drop that in the comments below. But I know Pelicans were the first team to beat an NBA team 5 times in one season since like 1996. So hopefully they don't get the record to beat an NBA team 6 times in one season. But getting into the stats of the game here, bringing it in. So I'm just going to go ahead and go over, this is based on the last 5 seasons. The last 5 games of this regular season. It looks like, the Kings, as stated, the offensive rating 116.2, defensive 114.4. They got a pace of about 99.47, so slightly higher than that of the Pelicans, which are sitting at about a 98.7. Offensive rating, Pelicans are similar to the Kings at 116.5. However, their defensive rating is, extremely better and even above, better than league average at 111.9. Coming into this game, I don't know what medicine or drug Vegas is on. Kings happen to be a 1-point favorite in this matchup. The over-under sitting at 210.5. And I say that because out of the 5 games that the Kings have played the Pelicans have beat the Kings on average by 19.2 points. So how the Kings are favored in this matchup by 1 is beyond me. And even looking back in the game where Pelicans played Kings and Zion Williams was out, which is one of the key injuries over on the Pelicans. Zion Williamson is out. He has a left hamstring injury. He'll be out probably for this foreseeable future, reevaluating about 2 weeks. So, and Monk and Herter are still out for the Kings. But the game that Zion was out, Kings lost by 33 points to the Pelicans. So for them to be 1-point favorites, hey, I'm all for it as a Kings fan, but as, a professional, as a sports bettor and things like that, I'm confused.
And we're on the road. We're not even at home.
Exactly, and we're on the road. However, flipping it, so these are the main game stats here for the, like I said, the last 5 games of the regular season. However, if you look at just, the play-in, I know it's a small sample, it's just one game, but, as, a little snapshot of time here, the Kings have an offensive rating of 122.9 and a defensive rating of a 95.9, which basically they're second highest in offensive rating in the play-in so far, only to be outdone by Chicago. I think they're at like a 130, and they have the best defensive rating as they basically lock down the Golden State better than all the other teams. The Pelicans come in at an offensive rating of a 106 and a defensive rating at 110. To keep that in mind, both averages sit at about a 112. So, yeah, Kings looking pretty good as long as they can keep up that defensive effort. But, yeah, so that's just, the main stats here. We can go over also looking at the most previous game taking place April 11th against the Pelicans here. It looks like the Pelicans did come to Sacramento and, took us again for the fifth time, beating us, 135 to 123, so a 12-point victory. As you can see, Zion top of the fantasy points there, followed closely by McCollum and then Trey Murphy, where Kings have Fox, Sabonis, and Barnes as their top three. So, yeah, looking at just that, and then going over here to, this is basically the previous optimal lineup for that matchup, keeping in mind that this was a 5K to first, not a 10K to first matchup. So you do have Zion, CJ McCollum, Fox, Jonas, and Barnes. Zion MVP, CJ McCollum star, Fox in the pro slot, Jonas and Barnes in the utility. So not too crazy of a lineup. Kind of looks like Fox was the play there, the ownership play in the pro position. And as you can see here up on the screen, here are basically the percentages, the ownership percentage of that matchup. So Zion was 17% owned, or about 18% owned in the MVP. McCollum about 17. Jonas in the utility pretty high owned at 28. Fox right there 8.4% in the pro, and Harrison Barnes at 25, about 25% in the utility. So yeah, looks to be kind of crazy matchup. Kind of looking forward to seeing how what pans out, because with Zion out, I mean, just in the play-ins alone, before he went out with 3 minutes to go in the game, he had 36 and a half minutes he played, and his usage was 38.6. So where's that going? Stay tuned. We'll let you know up here in our key players. So with that, David, you got anything to add so I can stop talking here and we can get to it?
Yeah, I think Vegas just must be counting on two things. That at some point, if you flip a quarter, at some point, if it keeps landing on heads, at some point it has to land on tails. So they're kind of counting on that. I think they're kind of also counting on, okay, well, the Lakers just beat them twice and we own the Lakers. So I guess they're piecing that together. And then the biggest factor here would be we're looking amazing, these last, outside of the New Orleans game, but, the last 5 games, it looks like we've really come together. Keon Ellis has really gelled well with our team. So I think we're gelling and coming together at the right time to where their team's falling apart. They're getting Brandon Ingram back, which is messing up the gel that they had and that was going on. And then now they're losing Zion. So their continuity is just all over the place. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal in basketball. So that'll be interesting. So yeah, let's hop on over to our top plays here.
Yeah, just another thing. Zion's missed 12 games this season. This would obviously be the 13th, but the Pelicans are 7-5 with Zion out. So they're no stranger to him. I mean, obviously they played like 4 seasons with him playing 2 games. Or whatever, but this season he's looked really good. So obviously fortunate enough for Kings fans that he's out. could be kind of interesting. I really, as a DFS player, wish he was in up until until salaries dropped, and then if then put him out. I could have made the salaries of this matchup a little bit easier to work with. But yeah, getting over here to the key players. Go ahead and start us off with who you got.
Yeah, I'm going to start us off with Mr. De'Aaron Fox. I mean, he's coming off a great game against Golden State. He's kind of been our most consistent, high fantasy scoring person. You could argue Sabonis as well. I mean, Sabonis only went one game all season without a double double, you know what I'm saying, or a triple double. So one game all season. Um, but at the 16K that he's at, I guess if Sacramento is going to win, he's probably going to be in there somewhere. I'm thinking he's probably going to be more pro or star than he is MVP, though. I like De'Aaron Fox at MVP a lot. Uh, so, yeah, it's just he's been the most consistent of our guys. He had 51 against them last time, April 11th. When we did play them, he may have gotten. He only played 26 minutes. He had 7 fantasy points, but he only played 26 minutes, so I'm sure he got either injured or yanked at that point. But then he had 39, 37. Again, these are all lower than average. It's kind of weird. If you go down and see each of the Kings, for the most part, they all score lower than what they normally do against the Pelicans. So it's going to be like, who's going to turn it around? I think it's going to be, I don't know. I think it's going I think De'Aaron Fox is going to be one of those guys. I think he's that dude. So I got De'Aaron Fox at all the multiplier spots, but definitely at MVP. And I'll be at or over the field at the MVP spot, but I will be playing him in Star and Pro as well. So
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. As you can see here up on the screen, that is also my first pick, and I do agree with it. I do have him in the MVP star and pro position. 15K. I'm really hoping for MVP star numbers there. His last 5 games, he's sitting at 36.8 averaging minutes, usage 28.9, averaging 45.4 fantasy, and he's projected roughly 48 points this matchup. Just looking at this, the snapshot in time, as I mentioned before, the play-in, he's, he played 38.6 minutes, and he had a 27.4 usage in that matchup. He does have one of the better matchups. He doesn't have the best matchup against New Orleans, even though the last few games here, New Orleans has given up quite a bit of points to that opposing point guard position, looking like averaging about 39.92 fantasy points per game. He just gave up 35 to D'Angelo Russell, 32.2 to D'Angelo Russell. The Lakers played back to back. 41.3 to Curry, 51 to Fox, as David mentioned in their previous game, and 40 to Scoot Henderson. So, yeah, I believe Fox will be up there in the raw fantasy point, one of the top people. I'm thinking more than likely he might be the top play for me. So I will be obviously having swapping him, probably McCollum, Ingram, and Sabonis out of that MVP slot there. So, yeah, no, I like De'Aaron Fox a lot, and I will be using him quite a bit.
awesome, yeah, same here. Who you got for your second pick?
Second pick, you might not agree, I don't think, but I'm going with Mr. Brandon Ingram here. I like him at 13K. You did mention, yeah, he did look a little sluggish. Playing in that game, he did look like the court was made out of mud. But these stats are based on the 5 previous games that he played before he went out for that 12-game stretch there. So he was averaging about 23.1 minutes. His usage was about 26.4. He was averaging 32.7 fantasy points. In this matchup, he's projected about 27.8, but in my opinion, I think that's a little low, as in 7 out of those 12 games that Zion has missed, he's been the top 3 fantasy point scorers for New Orleans Pelicans. So, and in this play-in game, he played just 24.9 minutes, where he is used to playing, in those mid 30, low 30 minutes, and he had a usage of about a 26.2, so his average. Um, it's really hard to kind of judge where he's going to play. I'm just looking all over. He ranges from point guard to power forward position based on where you look. So obviously that is going to dictate, who, the Kings are going to have guarding him. But looking like he's going to more likely probably play that small forward position, in my opinion. Kings are actually decent against that. They're only giving up about 25.5 fantasy points. Most recently, they gave up about 19 to Wiggins in this last matchup, 16.2 to Manias, 25.6 to Grayson Allen, 38 to Trey Murphy from the Pelicans. Obviously, Trey Murphy was playing his position when Ingram was out, and then a 30-point to Dort. So I think with that, I think Ingram's going to have a probably pretty decent game, just based on looking back at the 4 games that they played the Kings. He was the second highest in the game where Zion was out. He was the first highest on the December game and the second highest in the November game. So it looks like he kind of knows how to play the Kings pretty well. So I have a feeling that that sluggish mud might have come off here, and he'll have a decent showing. And the positions, MVP, I'm going to even have him MVP. Obviously, he'll probably be the lower of my 4 that I'm going to probably be rotating with, but I will have him even in MVP, looking more star pro position for him.
My only concern really is the minutes for Brandon Ingram. He got 23 minutes in his first game back, and then they did have one day off, and then he played 24 minutes in the second game back. He is coming off an injury where he was out, almost 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks, something like that. So do you believe he's going to play 30 plus minutes? Because if you do, then I would say I could see that being a pretty good pick. But if he's only going to be playing 25 minutes or under, for me, 13K isn't going to work for me.
Yeah,
That's for
well,
me.
I mean, if you look at the play-ins, they played the Lakers. They only played 9 players total in that matchup. So he got 25 minutes. I think obviously with Zion gone, he's gonna probably pick up some minutes. I believe Trey Murphy will get quite a bit too, and I believe not gonna spoil my third pick, but if you stay tuned, I'll let you know who I think's gonna get some minutes and could be a good value play there. So stay tuned. But yeah, no, I have a feeling that he the rust is off, and he will get his usual low 30s minutes. I'd say probably about 32, 33 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, if that's the case, then you'll have talked me into having more exposure of him, because if he gets the minutes, I know the usage without Zion is going to be there, and he is a dude who can get hot. I remember 2, 3 seasons ago where he was like the man on the team. I mean, he was averaging like 55 fantasy points every night. So he does have the capability for sure to get hot. And again, as long as those minutes are there, and he doesn't have anything re-injured, then yeah, then like, it's a sneaky play because I do think people will be afraid of him when they game log and see those minutes and they see he's 13K. So it could be a good ownership play as well because I don't see as many people hopping on, uh, because
Mm-hmm.
it is a little risky. So, but yeah.
Nice.
Um,
All right. Well, who you got as your second pick here?
so for my second pick, I got Mr. Jonas Valanciunas.
Oh
Um,
boy.
And the reason for that is so the last game that Zion was out, and granted, it was against a bottom team, but it was against the San Antonio Spurs. And if I take a look at what he did, he got 27 minutes and 43 fantasy points. I would assume against Wemby. I'm sure Wemby was out there. Um, but the other big factor, sorry, my screen went down for 1 second. Mm, so uh, last season, this is huge. So last season when Zion wasn't there, uh, and he played Sacramento, so he had on 11-20-23, he had in just 21 minutes, he had 48 fantasy points against us. And again, that's 21 minutes. He had 10 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 blocks. So he can do it even in the 21 minutes, which is what he typically, I would say. It's kind of all over the place, but we could agree he averages about 20 minutes a game. Uh, there's some in there that are 16, some that are like 33. So he is kind of all over the place. But looking when he plays the Kings, the last 2 seasons, starting from the last game, he got 33 minutes, 22 minutes, 29, 28, 21, 27, 32. So he's averaging over 30 fantasy points when he plays against us. And at 10K, that's exactly what I want. And he has the upside of 48 fantasy points. Um, I can't ignore that. He's made me lots of money. He's also lost me a little bit because obviously he is a volatile guy where, he can get you 10 fantasy points, but he can also get you 50. So I guess, kind of the risk. Your pick is a sneaky risky pick with Brandon Ingram. Mine's kind of the obvious risky pick with Valanciunas. I'm hoping more people go with Larry Nance instead, since Nance has kind of been more of that guy this season. Uh, he's only 500 more. I'll be mixing it up between the two, but I just can't get away from someone with that type of upside at 10K. So I'll be over the field with him. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's my only concern is, and it's the confusing part too because he did come out and acknowledge that Nance is kind of taking over here just in the last few games, and he's fine with it. As long as they're winning, blah 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 or whatever. However, now you throw in that wrench where now Zion's out. So, is Valanciunas going to be obviously taking over that key center role, and then Nance is now going to go back to that backup power forward, backup center role coming in off the bench. So, that's what you're going to kind of have to script. I'm going under the impression that I think Nance is going to be the starter in this situation. I think he just, probably has a little bit faster pace, a little bit, to me. I know Valanciunas has eaten up the Kings. I mean, just in the last matchup on the 11th, he got 30.5 points, and he did play 33 minutes though. So, but no, there is upside there at 10K. It is a gamble with him, especially coming off the 17 three-point game, and then he must have got hurt, or just that's when Nance started taking over. He had 7 minutes against the Lakers, and then a 16 and a half against the Golden State. So yeah, you are taking a risk with them. I think that risk is not as high since Zion's out, but in my opinion, I think like Nance a little bit better in this matchup. So.
for sure. And he's 500 more, so I'll be mixing in both. But like you said, it'll be interesting to see who starts. Yeah, there's some news to drop that'll be interesting. But I will have J Val at the pro and at the star. I'm not going to be. I'm not doing enough lineups to put him at MVP, even though he could have a 48, 50 fantasy point night. But I will have him primarily at the pro and the star. Will be my spots for him. So, all right,
who do you got up? Your last pick.
That's right. My last pick. My last pick. I'm just gonna have to go ahead and just go with the chalky guy here. It's CJ McCollum. Let's be real. If they have any chance, if they're gonna end up winning this game, CJ McCollum is gonna be the guy who's gonna have to light it up. I was kind of taking a look. He against us. He actually didn't play two of the games this year, but he did get 18 attempts up last game that he played against us, against the Kings. He got 16 attempts and 14 attempts. So and again, that's with Zion in. So I can imagine with Zion out, and he did play 40 minutes against us last time in the last game, April 11th. He's averaging 49. He's averaging 50 fantasy points against us in the last two games. So again, he's at 14K. He's going to be he's their best shooter, arguably. Not necessarily in my opinion, but I'd probably take a healthy Brandon Ingram over CJ McCollum. Shooting wise, that's just me. I've never been a big McCollum fan. However, if he's going to be taking a whole bunch of shots and his usage is going to go up and he's averaging 50 fantasy points against the Kings the last two games, that's someone I want to roster. So I'll have him in all the multiplier spots. I will not be putting him in the utility. I'll actually be mixing up some surprising Kings, as you'll see in my lineups, in the utility spot that most people are probably going to be putting up at the star or maybe an MVP after the game you just had. But yeah, so CJ McCollum, I know it's chalky, but I'll be mixing him up and down and making other moves so that my lineup isn't quite as chalk. So what are your thoughts on him and what he's got to do? And then who do we got here for your last play?
Yeah, no, I think this is probably going to be a battle of the point guards. Both teams are fairly weak in the point guard position. De'Aaron Fox does at least have some defensive. It looks like in the last five games or so, he's averaging over 2 steals a game. So at least you have some defensive perks on his side. McCollum, I'm not saying he's a bad defensive player, but he doesn't. Looking back, doesn't really have any of the defensive. I mean, against Golden State, he did have 2 blocks and then 2-2, but Fox, I think, was like 4 steals, 3 steals, 2-2. So I think it's going to be a battle of the point guards, to be honest. Both, like I mentioned, both teams are fairly weak against that point guard position. It's hard for me to put opposing point guards in the same lineup because it's kind of like if one does well, that means, or if one does bad, that means the other one does good. But whatever. I do like him. I do like him in all the multipliers. Pro is more the sneaky play, the ownership play there. At 14K, you typically like to see him at least get MVP star numbers. Obviously, there's always the potential for a lower salary guy to have that game to be MVP and knocks him down to the pro spot. But for the most part, if I'm rostering a 14K person, I want him to at least get me, star raw fantasy points numbers. The play-ins, he's looking pretty good. He only played 29.6 minutes. His usage was 23, so it's great. Didn't have the best shooting night there. Only had 9 points, but that's an off night. That's the first time he's had looking single-digit points since March 15th, so over a month ago. So I'm not going to be really considering that as an option. So yeah, CJ McCollum, definitely I'll have him up there quite a bit in MVP as well. So Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Then well, who you got here to send us off?
So this play is going to be who I think's going to get some playing time. They didn't have any playing time the last game, but now that Zion's out, I think this player is going to have the potential to see some floor time, and at the salary of 7K, could be a sneaky play if he can get you, you know, he's projected roughly 16, fantasy points, but I would like to see him get that mid 20s at least if I'm to roster him. But looking back at the 5 last games he did play, he averages about 17 and a half minutes. Usage isn't too great. He's averaging only about 11 fantasy points, but he's projected 16. Kings have a really tough time against that power forward center position. As we stay here in DFS, bigs against Kings, and so on. So I think if he does get some times, he has the potential to, make that salary viable. And especially, with the salaries, how they are, having a 7K player in your lineup could, help you roster more of those upper salary people. So that's my pick. I won't have him in too many lineups, but I just wanted to, do my pick who I think is going to get some playing time on that lower salary, because really after, I would even say 8,500,
Yeah.
it starts getting a little dicey with the players. I mean, Jose Alvarado 8,500 is like the lowest that I feel comfortable, honestly, with. Trey Lyles, I know, has the potential. Davion Mitchell has the potential. Dyson Daniels doesn't get the minutes. So with Zion out, I'm kind of relying here on Najee Marshall to get those minutes. Looking back at all the games that Zion missed, he seems to be that person, him and Jordan Hawkins, but with at shooting guard, McCollum is healthy, and their other stars are healthy up there. So I think Najee would get basically all the extra minutes. So just keeping that in mind there. So what do you think about that value play there? And I only really utility. I don't see him getting up there and into the pro.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely a utility play. I think he'll be 10% or less owned there, so that'll be great. I've played him all year. I love, he's a fantasy point per minute beast when he is out there. So if he could get 15 to 20 minutes, I think he could definitely do some damage against us, which would definitely be a sneaky good low owned utility play. So uh, yeah, I think I'll be doing 15 or 20 lineups. I'll probably throw him in probably like three, just to, that'll probably be my number. Because I do think I see a world in which he does get 15. I need 15 minutes from him to do,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to do it for that, for him to get the points needed there. And it can definitely be done against the Kings. So, yeah, love the play. I like it.
Nice. All right. And with that, so if you, please also, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Please also drop down in the comments. We would like to see, who your guys' three um, favorite picks are. Do you agree with our picks? Do you disagree? Why do you disagree? Things like that. We like to start getting, some engagement here, and that way we just, we're helping each other out. We obviously all want to win some money. So if we help each other out, I think we, be there. But with that, if you are just tuning in, welcome to DFS Insights. We did just go over basically the overall game, breakdown here, and then we just gave three key players each who we like in this matchup. And with that, I know you guys that are just tuning in came here just for these lineups, and thank you for those who stuck around and listened to it. And here are those lineups. Yeah, looking pretty good. If you do have any questions on why we picked them, go ahead and hit that rewind button. Go back, watch those key player breakdowns. It will explain, why we did what we did here. So again, reemphasize, like, subscribe. It helps this channel grow. Um, we like to see more here. We're going to be covering quite a bit of these the playoff game. Excuse me, the playoff games. It'll probably be quite a bit of the West Coast games, as those games seem to probably be the ones that are going to be the later of the games, and those games typically are the higher payout games. Just like I believe the next one we'll probably cover is the Lakers Denver game, rematch from last year, and that's the Saturday game. So look forward to that. And with that, good luck. Hope to see you up there, and let's go Kings, David.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just going to keep it easy like this. Good luck to everybody out there. I hope you make that money. Let's go Kings. Let's go. We're not losing 6 in a row to some dorky New Orleans Pelican team. No way. They're Zionless. Brandon Ingram's isn't all the way back. There's no way. Bring on the Thunder. Let's go.